In this video, we're going to go through on Raffles Girls Primary School Preliminary Examination Primary 6 2024 Mathematics Paper 2. So let's get started. Okay, let's go to the first question. All right, so question 1, it says here, the graph shows the total volume of water that evaporated from a container over a period of 8 hours. Okay, some numbers here. I think we know what's the numbers represent. Okay, so during which two interval were there the most volume of water evaporated? All right, so let's zoom in. So let's count the number of gaps: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in this case over here, we have 20. Uh, so this is 5 gaps is equal to 20. 1 gap is equal to 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Okay, so we know that. Now let's go close to see where we at for all of the different timings. So for 11 o'clock over here, it's at, okay, it's a bit warped. So this is 8, right? So this is 8. Okay, let's move to the next one, which is 1 o'clock. Same thing over here. We're going to put this part and also this part. Okay, so this is below 40, so this should be 36. Okay, right, 36. And then let's go to 3 o'clock, right, another one. So 3 o'clock will be above 80, so this should be 84. Okay, so this is 84. Okay, and then lastly, we have the last one, 120. I think this one pretty obvious. I think we don't need this. So we just put 120 over here. Okay, so during which two interval were the most volume of water evaporated? Okay, so from here, from 9, which is 0, to 8, okay, it evaporated from 0 to 8. So in this case, this will be then plus 8, right? So 8 to 36, this is plus 28. And then from 36 to 84, so you just minus the bigger number with a smaller number. So let's use our calculator. So 36, 84 minus 36, this is 48, right? So plus 48. And then after that, 84 to 120. So let's use our calculator again. 120 minus 84, and this will give you plus 36. Okay, so which one has the highest? So you see plus 48 is from 300 to 31500, which in this case will be 1300 to 1500. Right. Okay, let's move on to the next part, part B. So what was the total volume of water that evaporated from 1100 to 1500? Okay, so 1100 to 1500, so 84 minus 8 lah. Okay, 84 minus 8. So 1100 is 8, and 1500, wait, yep. Okay, this is 8 ml. This is 84 ml. So evaporated is equal to 84 minus 8. This will give us 76 ml. Okay, there you go. So that's your answer, 76. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, so question number 2. Right, the table shows the number of books borrowed from a library by 4 friends in a month. So we have the name and number of books. Cal has a lot. Cal borrowed half of the total number of books borrowed by his 3 friends. How many books did Dewi borrow? Okay, so that means total is equal to 30 times 2, which is 60. All right, so once we get the total, so Dewi, right, is basically, in this case, so Cal borrowed half of the total. So that means there will be 60 minus 5 minus 6. Okay, and this will then become, so we just use this 60 minus 5 minus 6, 49. There you go. So that's your answer. Dewi is 49. Okay, so not 19, 49. All right, that's it for this question. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 3. So, a car and a taxi traveled from point A to point B. When the car started the journey at 8 a.m., the taxi was 7.5 kilometers ahead. The car traveled 90 kilometers an hour and the taxi traveled at 75 kilometers an hour. Both went in the same direction and did not change their speeds throughout. At what time did the car and taxi pass each other? Okay, so in this case, we have 2 points, right? A and B. A, let me put A, and then we have B as well. Okay, so when the car started journey at 8 a.m., the taxi was so car is 8 a.m. and then the taxi is already 7.5 kilometers ahead. Okay, so this is the taxi and it's 7.5 kilometers. So I'm gonna write here 7.5 km ahead like this. Oops. Okay, so ahead of the car. Okay, so car travel at 90 and the taxi travel at 75 kilometers. Right. So in this case, we can find the difference on how much time it takes for them to pass each other. Okay, so for this case, let's find the difference. For the taxi and driver, difference in speed is equal to 90 minus 75, which is equal to 15 kilometers per hour. So we know that there's a difference between 15 kilometers, right? So the next thing is that we want to get the time when they catch up. So what we need to do is we need to get a distance that they are set apart, which is 7.5. So time they meet is equal to 7.5, and then we divide it by 15. Okay, so let's see what's the 5 divided by 15. Okay, 0.5. Okay, 0.5 hours, which is also equal to 30 minutes, right? So I would say time, okay, but time, yeah, time they meet again is equal to 8 a.m. plus 30 minutes is equal to 8:30 a.m. There you go, 8:30 a.m. in this case. All right, that's it for this question. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 4. Okay, so the pupils are so question number 4. The pupils are at a camp were divided into group A and group B. Three eighths of the pupils in group A are girls. 1/6 of the pupils in group B are girls. There are 3 times as many pupils in group B as in group A. All right. So each of the statement, whether it's true or false, are not possible to tell from the information. Put a tick to indicate your answer. Okay. So there are more girls in Group A than Group B. So there are 3 times as many pupils in Group A as in Group B. So 3 times as many in Group B as in Group A. So in a sense, um, 3 of the pupils are Group B and 1/6. So 3/8 Group A girls is equal to 3/8. So that means group. So total is 8 units. Then Group A girls is 3 units. Okay. So go to 3 units. Okay, then 1/6 of the girls in Group B are what do you call this? Girls, right? So Group B We have 1 over 6. So group total is 6. And then units. And then group B goes. Okay, let's just put group B goes is 1, 6. Okay. So this is group A total is 8 units. So group B has 3 times as many girls in group B as in group A. So group B total is equal to 8 units times 3 is equal to 24 units. Okay, so that means group B girls is in units. So group A girls units or group B girls units over here is units, it's equal to 16 times 24. This will become, so 24 divided by 6 equal to 4 units. Alright, so is group B, there are more girls? The answer is false. Alright, okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, let's put both of them here. Okay, so the total number of boys in both groups is a multiple of 5. Okay, let's check it out. So group A boys is equal to 8 minus 3 is equal to 5 units. And then group B boys, oops. Okay, group B boys in units is equal to 24 minus 4. And this is equal to 20. So yes, they are in what do you call this group in multiple of 5. And lastly, there are 32 pupils in a camp. No, not possible to tell. Okay, so this one I'll just write down in small. There is no information of number of any students in this case over here. Okay, so yeah, so this one you won't know, not possible to tell. All right, that's it for this question. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 5. Okay, so the square grid shows the position of 8 points. All right, Athena walked directly from point B to point D in a straight line. Okay, so what is the direction that Athena walked? In which direction? Okay, so north, south, and then east, and then west. Okay, so she walked this direction, which is southeast. Where's my arrow? So southeast, like this, right? So the answer is southeast. Okay, part B. Okay, so part B, Kok Ming stood at one point of the points facing H. After he turned 45, he faced C. Write down all the possible points where Kok Ming could be standing. So from H to C, right? So in this case over here, let's start with G. Okay, and then face with C. So over here is not 45. So in this case, this is wrong. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So F is look at this and then look at C. Is this 45? Yes, it is. Right, this is 45. Whoops. Right, so this is 45. So that means this is correct. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Right, so I'm just gonna move the thing. Okay, D and F. Right, so this is not, so that means this is wrong. Okay, next one. Let's move to B. B is like this, and then H is like this. Right, is this 45? Okay, is this 45? Nope. So B is not. Okay, let's move to A and B, right? Okay, so is this 45? Yes, it is, right? A to C is 45, so that means this is correct. Then lastly, we have H and C, right? So is this 45? Nope, it's not. Okay, so therefore, in this case, the answer is A and F. A and F. Right, let's move on to the next question. Question number 6. So the table shows salary Sumin was paid for working at a cafe. Monday to Friday, $3 M per day. Saturday $5 M plus $8, and Sunday 4M minus $2. Okay, so part A, Sumin worked from Monday to Saturday in her first week. What was her total salary for the first week in terms of M? Right, so give your salary in simplest form. So okay, number of days from Monday to Friday is equal to 5. Okay, so total amounts from Monday to Friday. Okay, and then this would then be equal to 5 times 3M, which is $15M. Then so total from Monday to Saturday, so month to Sat is equal to 15M plus 5M plus 8, which is equal to $20M plus 8. So I'm gonna put this as brackets. So see over here. Okay, there you go. So that's your answer. $20M plus 8. Okay, let's move to part B. So Sumin only worked on Saturday and Sunday in her second week. She was paid a total of 240 days for both days. Find the value of M. Okay, Saturday and Sunday is 5M plus 8. And she only got 240 for both days. Okay, so what's M, right? So Saturday plus Sun in M, un M in M is equal to 5M plus 8 plus 4M minus 2. So that means this is 9M plus, so 8 minus 2 is 6. So 9M plus 6 is equal to 240. So 9M is equal to 240 minus 6 is 240 minus 6, which is equal to 234. So 1M is equal to 234 divided by what is this? 9. Okay. Then let's use the calculator. 234 divided by 9. This will give us 26. Alright, so there you go. That's your answer for what is 1M. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Alright, so question 7. The average height of 3 plants is 105 centimeters. Plant A is twice as tall as plant B. Plant C is 0.65 meters shorter than plant A. What's the height of plant C? Okay, so A is 2 units, B is 1 unit, and then C is equal to plant C is shorter than plant A. So that means minus, right? So plant A is 2 units, then minus 0.65. So C is basically A minus 0.65. Okay, 2 units minus 0.65. Okay, what's the height of plant C? Okay, so the average height, so total height is equal to 3 times 105 is equal to so 3 times 105, it will be 315 centimeters. At the same time, we also want to get 0.65 meters. Oops. Okay, 0 is equal to 0.65 times 100, which is equal to 65 centimeters. Okay, so let's put this at 65 instead so that we can calculate it easier. Right, so now we have the total height. So uh, a total height in units is equal to 2 plus 1 plus 2 minus 65 is equal to, in this case, 5 units minus 65. Okay, so that means 5 units minus 65 is equal to 315. Then 5 units will be equal to 315 plus 65, which is equal to, so using the calculator, 315 plus 65, this is 380, right? So now let's put it over here. So let's get 1 unit. 1 unit is equal to 380, and then we divide it by 5. So let's use our calculator. 380 divided by 5, this will give us 76. Okay, so C is equal to 76 multiplied by 2 minus 65. Okay, so 76 times 2, let me just put here, then minus 65, this will give us 87, equal to 87 centimeters. There you go. So the answer is 87 centimeters. Two. All right, let's move on to the next question. Question 8. Emily has a rectangular piece of paper. She folded along the lines of BC and GF. Find FEH. Okay, right. Right, so first, what we're gonna get is two things. So first, we need to know. Let me just use violet. So we need to know this angle, and then we also need to know this angle. Because once we get to know this angle and this angle, then we just minus 180 with this two purple angle, and then we get this, right? So let me just change this color to blue instead. So to get this angle, then we just need to calculate this part. To get this blue angle, we need to have all of these angles. Okay, so first let's solve the purple one. Okay, so for folded angles, folding paper creates two of same angles. Okay, so this is a note here. So first is that we know this is a right angle. Okay, so when we fold it, right, we also fold it here as well. So let me just make this into red so it's easier to see. Let me make this into like this. Okay, so this folds, right, to become a 90-degree angle. Next one, when you fold this 45, that means this is also 45. Okay, so I'm just gonna put here as 45. Okay, I want to make this solid instead. Okay, and this is also 45 degrees, right? That's what I say over here. Therefore, we can know what is the purple one, right? I think it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so angle HFE is equal to 180 minus 45 minus 45, and this will give us 90 lah, right? Double confirm, right, is 180 minus 45 minus 45. This will give us 90 degrees. Okay, so once we get this, we know that this is 90. Right, let's make it a purple. This is 90 degrees. Okay, I'm just gonna put this as purple as well. So at least you know that it's purple. Purple. Okay, so this is 90. So the next thing is we want to get this blue. To get this blue, we need to get this angle. Wait, this is already green. Yeah, to get a green angle, we need to get the pink angle, and also we need to get this orange angle as well, like this. Okay, so how do we get the orange, and how do we get the what do you call this the pink one over here? All right, so as you can see in this, let me get this line. So this over here is a trapezium, okay, because this is parallel to this. Okay, right? So in this sense, what we can do is that we can get this angle, right, which I think it's obvious is 64, and then we can just minus the whole, what do you call this? Okay, so actually this angle is, we don't need to minus actually, right? Because this angle is a right angle, and this right angle is then just folded to this position inside here. Okay, so now we have two right angle. The next thing is you want to get this orange one. That's what you see over here. So we also know that when we fold again, this is 64 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to put here 64 degrees. So this is, since this is 64 degrees, okay, I don't need this anymore actually. Lol. Then what we can do is that we can get this angle, this one, this angle, right? Okay, because yes, the trapezium part is actually better if you were to do it here. So this is parallel. Okay, so once we get this black angle, this, and then we can get this orange angle. Okay, so that means angle, the black angle ABH is equal to 180 minus 64 minus 64, right? And this is equal to, so let's use the calculator, 180 minus 64 minus 64, and this will give us 52 degrees. Okay, so this is 52 degrees, right? So now we know that this is 52 degrees. The next thing is we can get the orange one. So the orange one is BHG. Don't know if you've been to BHG before, but so BHG is equal to, basically we just minus 180 minus what do you call this, 52. All right, and this is equal to, so let's use the calculator, 180 minus 52, 128 degrees, 128 degrees. All right, so I'm just going to write here ABHG is a trapezium. So where AB is parallel to HG or GH, right? So BHG is this. All right, so now we know that 128 degrees is this orange color over here. Beep. Okay, now lastly, we can get the green angle, which is angle FHG, which is equal to 360 minus 90 minus 90 minus 128. All right, so in this case, just 180 minus 128 lah. Okay, so let's do that. So 360 minus 90 minus 90 minus 128, 52 degrees. Okay, so this green color is 52 degrees, like this, right? Or this. Okay, so with that said, we can now finally get our angle. All right, let me not cover the H. So HEF, right? So angle HEF is equal to 180 minus 90 minus 52, right? So let's use the calculator again. 180 minus 90 minus 52. This is 38 degrees. All right, there you go. So that's the answer. 38 degrees. Alrighty, let's move to the next question. Okay, question 9. So it says here, figure 1 shows a rectangular wooden plank of length 0.3 meters over here. Carpenter used a number of such identical rectangular wooden planks to cover the floor of a square room. Figure 2 shows part of the arrangement. He used a total of 108 planks. Find the area of the floor. All right. So in this case over here, we have this 0.3 meters, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw this thing out. Okay, so I'm going to draw this. Okay, and let me just say 0.33 meters is equal to 30 centimeters. Okay, so it's 0.3 times 100. Okay, so we know that this is this. Okay, so this here is basically, if I were to just draw it like this, okay, so they're not really aligned, but okay, and then this actually also are aligned like this. Okay, so that means if you were to guess that this whole thing is 0 point or 30 centimeters. Okay, yes. Right, so this is also one length. So let me just make this a very big so at least you can see. So this is one length, and then you have I'm gonna put here, let B be breadth. Okay, so oops, I don't know what's this. Okay, so then this whole thing, right? This whole thing and this whole thing. Where is it? Okay, right. This whole thing. I don't want this. Right. Oh, okay. Just put like this. Okay, never mind. I think they are just at the back. But yeah, so essentially you have three breaths. So one, two, and three. Right. So all of these are B, B, B. Right. So B, B, and B. So three breaths is equal to one length. Okay, so we can write here. Three breaths is equal to one length. So that means one length is equal to 30 centimeter. So one breath. Okay, let me just put it over here. One breath is equal to 30 divided by 3. This is 10 centimeter. Okay, now we know that this is 10 centimeter. And in this, he used a total of 108 wooden planks. All right. So we know that the rectangle cover use in a rectangle will like to cover the floor of a square room. Okay, so this is a square room. Right. So find the area of the floor. Okay. So I think it's pretty straightforward. One plank over here, okay, is 30. The other one is 30. Okay. So now with that 108 plank woods, we can just have it divided by, so we have total of 108. Total is, oops, total is equal to 108 planks. Okay, and then one group is equal to 3 planks. So number of groups is equal to 108 divided by 3. Okay, and this will give us how many squares basically, right? So 108 divided by 3 is, give me the calculator. Right, 108 divided by 3, this will give us 36. 36 groups. Or 36 squares lah basically. So one square forms 3 planks, so number of squares is this, right? 36 squares. Right. So that means we have a total of 36 squares over here. So the squares are essentially like this, right? We have one square. Okay, this is one square. I'm gonna group them. So this one square. Okay, so this one. Then we have another one here. Okay, that is in the other side. So one square. So one square. Okay, so with that, we know that this, we need to know what is the length, right? So basically, we want to know what's the number of squares. What is the number of squares in one, what do you call this, in this thing over here? So that means length, one side of square is basically root 36. Square root of 36, which is basically 6. Okay, so that means there are 6 side of the squares in this case over here. Right, so 6 squares at one side and then 6 squares at the other side. Okay, right, so that means we have 6 squares. So the length of one side is equal to 6 squares times 3, which is basically this whole thing. But we don't need times 3, we just have times 30. And this would then become 180 centimeters. Okay, so that's the length of one side of square. So area is equal to 180 times 180. And this will give us, so use a calculator, 180 times 180, 3240 centimeter square. Okay, there you go. So that's the answer. 3240 centimeter square. Yep. Okay, so let's put the answer as such. All right, that's it. Let's move on to the next question. All right, so question number 10. Mrs. Roger spent one third of her money on a bag and two identical belts. The bag cost twice as much as each belt. Mrs. Roger spent three-quarter of her remaining money on a shirt. She spent $58 more on the shirt than on the bag. How much money did Mrs. Roger have at first? All right, so what we can do is we know that the bag cost twice as much as each belt. Okay, so let's bag. Okay, I'll just write bag and belt, lah, right? So one bag is equal to two belts. Okay, so Mrs. Roger spent uh one bag plus two belts is equal to one third of money. Okay, so that means if we were to convert the one bag over here to two belts, that means she has four. So two belts plus two belts is equal to one third of money. Okay, so one third of money is essentially equal to two belts plus two belts, right? So plus two, I'm just gonna copy this like this, right? Which is equal to four belts. So that means remaining is equal to 1 over 3 is equal to 2/3, right? And then 2/3 of money is equal to 4 times 2, which is equal to 8 belts, right? 8 belts. Okay, so now next thing is spend 3/4 on the, what is this shirt? So shirt is equal to 3/4 of remaining. Okay, so this two third money is also called the remaining. So that means in this sense, this is equal to 3/4 times 8 belts, which in this case, let me just use the calculator, right? So 3 divided by 4 times 8, 6. So the shirt is 6 belts, right? 6 belts. So in this, yeah, let me just move this a bit here. Okay, so we know that the shirt is worth 6 belts. So she spent 3/4 on the money on a shirt. Okay, so shirt is 6 belts. And then we know that she spent $58 more on the shirt than on the bag. Ooh, right. So that means the shirt is equal to $58 more dollar than, so it's one bag plus dollars 58. Okay, so let me actually just put on the other side. Okay, so we know that one shirt is equal to one bag plus 58. So we know what's one bag. So shirt is equal to 2 belts plus $58. Okay, so we know that one shirt is 2 belts plus 58, and we also know that one shirt is also 6 belts. So that means 6 belts, 2 belts plus 58. Okay, so that means 4 belts is equal to $58. Okay, so one belt is equal to 58 divided by 4. Let's see. So 58 divided by 4, $14.50. Dollars 14.50. Okay, so how much money did she have at first? So we know that the one third of the money is 4 belts. Okay, so 3 out of 3 of money at first, okay, is equal to 4 times 3, which is equal to 12 belts. Right, so that means 12 belts is equal to 14.50 times 12, which is equal to, so multiply by 12, $174. Right, so that's the answer. $174. Belts. Okay, very good. Let's move on to the next question. Right, so question 11. So Amina and Serene had the same number of coins. They each had a mix of 20 cent and 50 cent coins. Amina had 12 20 cent coins, while Serene had 20 cent coins. Who had more money and how much more? Right? So both of them have the same number of coins. So I'm going to visualize for you, right? So Amina, and then we have Serene. Okay, so for Amina and Serene, they have the same number of coins. Okay, so and then at the same time, we also know that they have Amina had 12 20 cent coins. So 12, about 12 times 20 cents, right? And then Serene had 20. So I'm just going to make this as small as possible. So 12 times 20, make it a little bit small, and then we have 20, right? In this case. All right. So the difference is 8, right? In this case. So, and what's the 8? The 8 is 50 cent coins, right? So in this case, we have 8 times 50 cents. Okay, so you just count the number only, right? Oops. Okay, so maybe 20 cent coins a bit bigger, right? So we don't know what's the amount of 50 cent they have each, but it will look something like this, right? So let's put here as 1 unit, right? And then we have 1 unit, okay, of 50 cent coins. So I think from here we can roughly know what's the I'm just put here lah. Okay lah. So in this case we can know the difference, right? So difference. So Amina uh 20 with Amina 20 coins, right? So Serene, I just put Serene lah. Serene 20 coins will be 20 cent value, 20 cents, right? Total value is equal to 20 times 20 is equal to 400, okay, cents. So Amina 20 cent, 20 coins mix 20 coins with 20 cents and 50 cents is equal to 8 times 50 plus 12 times 20. Okay, so in this case, what did, so 8 times 50 and then plus 12 times 20. Okay, 640 cents. 640 cents, right? So from here we can get the difference. So difference is equal to, right? So I would say like difference is 640 minus 400, which is equal to 240 cents, right? Or equal to dollars 2.40. Okay, so that is the answer, $2.40. All right, so the amount is different, and the child is Amina, right? Amina. Okay, in this case over here. All right, that's it. So hopefully this makes a bit more sense. Let's move on to the next question. All right, so it says here, part B, Serene spent all her 20-cent coins. How much must Amina give to Serene so that they have the same amount of money? Okay, so if I were to move over here, right? So Serene spent all her 20 coins, done, gone. So you're left with this amount. So we can just divide this by 2 lah, right? So I think we have this. Amina coins, right? Is this, which is equal to 640, and then she don't have this anymore. So how do you make it equal, right? Okay, so how much so that they have the same amount, so we just divide this by 2 lah. Okay, so give to Amina, give to Serene is equal to 640 divided by 2, and this is equal to dollars 3.20. Okay, or 320, right, cents, which is equal to $3.20. All right, so that's it. So it's dollars 320. Okay, so we can just divide. All right, that's it. Let's move to the next question. Question 12. So it says here ABG and CDF are rhombuses. So ABEG, sorry. So AB, where's my this one? Oh, okay. That's why it's like that. So AB and BG is a rhombus. Okay. Whoop beep, whoop beep. So this and CDEF is rhombus as well. Okay. That's what I see over here. Right. So we know that this is equal as well. Right. So now CDE, where's D? DE is 72 degrees. Find AGE in this case over here. Right. So AGE, to get AGE, what can we do is, since we know 72 degrees are over here, we just write down what we know lah. Okay, so here we know that if this is 72, then this is 72 as well. Okay, so I'm just going to put here 72 degrees. Oh, see over here. All right, so then at the same time, we also know that this is half. So this line over here is half of the rhombus of 72. So rhombus, if you cut into half, that means these are equal. These are parallel. Okay, same goes to this as well. This is also, that makes this into an isosceles triangle. So with that said, we can know what this angle is. All right, so let me just write this down, right? So angle CDE, CDE is equal to angle, I'm just gonna write it down here so it's easier to see. Okay, so CDE, CDE is equal to angle CFE, right? CFE, which is equal to 72 degrees. Okay, so since CE is half the rhombus of rhombus CDEF. Okay, let me just make this a bit like this. So that means FCE is an isosceles triangle. Okay, so then that means angle CEF is equal to 180 minus 72 and then be divided by 2. Okay, and then divide by 2. Okay, and let's see what's the answer. Take our calculator. Okay, and just put it here. I guess so. So 180 minus 72, 108 divided by 2. This is 54 degrees. So 54 and then degrees. Okay, so I'm gonna put 54 degrees over here like this. So 54 degrees. All right, so now since we know this is 54 degrees, we can know AGE, right? So AGE with our angle AGE is equal to, so for rhombus the adjacent side is just 180, right? So 180 minus 54, and this will give us 180 minus 54, 126 degrees, 126 degrees. Okay, there you go. So the answer to AGE is 126 degrees. All right, that's it. All right, let's move on to part B. Okay, so part B, it says find AHC. So AHC is this angle over here, right? So to get this angle, because these two lines are straight, so these are vertically opposite. So let me just put this as green. So we need to get this green angle. In order for us to get this green angle, we also need to get this. Let me put a blue one. We need to get this blue angle over here. So how do we get this blue angle? So this blue angle is basically half of 54, right? So we can write this down. So the angle HEF, so angle HEF is equal to half of 54. So half times 54, and this will give us 27, right? So double confirm, 54 divided by 2. Okay, this is 27, right? I'll just put 54 divided by 2 easier. Okay, 54 divided by 2 is 27 degrees. Okay, from here, I think we can find the answer that rhymes. Okay, so in this case over here, let me just put 54 like this. Okay, so now angle FHE is equal to 180 minus 72 minus 27, and this is equal to, so let's use the calculator. So 180 minus 72 minus 27. Okay, and this will give us 81 degrees. 81 degrees. Okay, so in this case, since FHE, is vertically opposite, so that means, let me just put here, FHE is equal to AHC, angle AHC, right, which is 81 degrees. So this is vertically opposite angles, right? There we go. So that's the answer. So 81 degrees. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, so question 13. The table shows the printing rate of 4 printers. The rate for printer D is not shown. Okay. Right, so the pie chart shows the total number of posters printed by each of the printers on a particular day. All the printers printed for 6 hours except for printer C, which broke down after some time. Okay, so we have A, which is a quarter of a circle, D is 35%, B and C is unknown. So what percentage of posters were printed by printer B? So we know that all printers, right, all printers except for printer C printed for 6 hours. So in this case over here, what we can do is, first I think we can get, right, printer A printed posters in 6 hours, right, which is equal to, so printer is 50 times 6, and this will give us, so we can use the calculator, 50 times 6, this will give us 300 posters. And printer A is percentage is basically 1 quarter times 100%, and is equal to 25%, right? So printer A over here is 25%. because it's 1/4. It's a quarter of a circle. All right, so now we know printer is 25%. So we can say 25% is equal to 300, not hours, 300 posters, right? So 1% would then be equal to 300 and then divided by 25. Let's see what is it equal to. So 300 divided by 25, this will then equal to 12. Okay, then we want to get the total 100% is equal to 1 2 times 100, and this will be 1000, right? Times 100, this will be 1000. Okay, so at the same time you also want to know printer B. So printer B posters in 6 hours. Okay, we know printer B, how many printers is being printed every hour per hour is basically 60, right? Times 6 is 360. 360 by printer B, right? So printer B percentage, right? Printer, move this up a bit. Printer B percentage is equal to 360 divided by 120 out of, right? Out of 1200 times 100%. Okay, and what would this be? So let's use the calculator. 360 divided by 1200 and then times 100. And this will give us 30%. So this is 30%. Okay, so B is 30%. There you go. All right, so that's it for part A. All right, so part B, how many hours did printer C print before breaking down? Okay, so we know printer C over here is 80. So we want to get what's the number of, what I call this, percentage is printer C. So in this case, what we can do is printer C percentage is equal to 100 minus 25 minus 30 minus 35% here. So minus 35%. Okay, and this is equal to, so let's use a calculator. Right, so printer C over here is 100 minus 25 minus 1225, 25 minus 30 minus 35. Okay, this is equal to 10%. Right, so 10% for printer C over here. So then we want to get 10%. Okay, oops, 10% is equal to 12, right, times 10. Times 10 equal to 120. Okay, so how many hours did printer C? So printer C over here is 80 per hour. So 80 for 80 posters for 1 hour. Okay, then 120 posters is equal to, right, 1 divided by 80 times 120. Okay, so let's do that. So it's 1 divided by 80 and then times 120, and this is 1.5 hours. Okay, there you go. That's it. All right, so it's 1.5 hours for part B. All right, let's move on to the next part or question. All right, so question 14, it says the first four rows of numbers arranged in a certain pattern are shown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, the table shows the first number and the last number in each row for the first four rows. Okay, first and last, right? 1, 2, 5, 10, 1, 4, 9, 16. Okay, so what's 5 and what is 16 over here? So for those who are very familiar with the patterns, this one is very familiar. So this will be just basically 1 times 1. Okay, 1 times 1 and then equal to this. Okay, and then this would be 2 times 2, right? So 2 times 2. Okay, and then this is 3 times 3, right? 3 times 3, and then this will be 4 times 4, 4 times 4, and lastly this will be 5 times 5, 5 times 5, and this will then become 25. Pretty straightforward. Okay, next one, 1, 2, 5, and 10. So the next number should be 17 over here. So 16, row 5 will be 17, 1, 7. Okay, so don't know what this pattern is, but we'll see. Okay, let's go for part B. Right, part B says find the first number in row 10. Okay, now let's get this going. So we have 1, 2, 5, 10. So 1, 2, 5, 10, 17. All right, so one thing that I see in the pattern here is you see 1 and then 2, 4 and then 5, 9 and then 10, 16 and then 17. So in this case over here, the easiest way is to get the previous row number and then plus 1 for the first number. So in this case, 1, uh, for example, 2, the previous number, so row 2, and then basically first row 2 is first number is equal to 1 previous row, okay, row 1 last number plus 1. Okay, so in this case row n first number is equal to row n minus 1 last number plus 1, like this. Okay, so in essence, so row n last number, which is basically the same as wait is this lah, n minus 1 times itself, right? N minus 1 and then times n minus 1. Okay, so now to get row 10, right, first number is equal to this thing, right? N minus 1 plus 1. Okay, so for this we just put 10 minus 1 times 10 minus 1. Okay, so and then from here we can just let me just remove this whole thing. Okay, all right, so 10 minus 1, what will it be? This will then become 9 times 9, right? 9 times 9 plus 1, and this will then become 82. Okay, so that's the answer, 82 over here. Okay, there you go. So that's part B. All right, so lastly, part C over here, right? Find the average of the numbers in row 10. So we know the first number is 82. Okay, then row 10, let me put here, row 10 last number. So last number is just times itself, right? So 10 times 10 equal to 100, right? So now we want to get the total, which is equal to 82 plus 83 plus 84, and then plus dot 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 plus, then this will be 98 plus 99 plus 100. Okay, all right, so then we will just add the numbers right in between like this. Okay, so let me just put like this, right? So you plus, okay, from 82 to 100, and then 83 to, okay, so easier if I were to put it like this, right? So here just put like this, so is this a plus, and then from 83 over here plus 90. Okay, so for this, so I'll just put like that. Okay, and then I cannot move this, okay, whatever lah, I'll just put here to here instead, right? Okay, you get what I mean lah. Right, so in essence for 82 plus 83, okay, so how do we do that? Is equal to, right, in this case is 100 minus 82, okay, divided by 2, and then times 100 plus 82. Okay, right, so let's do over here, which is 100 minus 82. 100 minus 82 is equal to 18. So 18 divided by 2, 2, and then times 1082. 182, sorry, 182. Okay, so it's basically, let's calculate this, 9 and then multiply by 182. Somehow uh, my answer just disappeared. Okay, so in the end we get a total of 168. So then number of numbers in row that 100 minus 82 is equal to 18. So average is equal to 1638 divided by 18, and this will give us, let's, so 1638 divided by 18, this will give us 91. Okay, there you go. So that's the answer, 91. All right, let's move to the next question. Okay, question 15. Megan had some lilies and carnations. After she sold 75% of lilies and 1/5 of carnations, she had an equal number of lilies and carnations. What's the ratio of number of lilies to the number of carnations Megan had at first? Okay, so 75%, okay, is equal to 75 out of 100, which is equal to 3 quarters. Okay, so that means sold lilies is equal to 3 quarters, and then remaining, remaining lilies is equal to 1 minus 3 quarter, okay, is equal to 1 quarter. Then sold carnations is equal to 1/5. Let me just put here, okay, 1/5, and then remaining carnations is equal to 1 minus 1 over 5, which is 4 over 5. Okay, so for those who don't know what carnations or lilies are, these are carnations and these are lilies over here. Okay, so yeah, hopefully this brightens up this black and white kind of thing. Okay, so this is basically, we know that she had an equal number of lilies and carnations, so equal fraction concept. Okay, in this case over here, so that means 1 quarter lilies is equal to 4/5 of carnations. So step 1, let me just write it down. Okay, step 1, okay, make numerators the same. Okay, so this one, step 1, make numerators the same. Okay, so that means we will then put this as 4 out of 16 equal to 515 carnations. And then after that, let's see, okay, we can still move these things over here, these lilies and carnations. Okay, so all right, let me just put it over here. All right, so lilies and carnations, what I'm going to do is, so step 2, okay, make it small. Step 2 is to convert denominators to units, to total units. Okay, so this is step 2 over here. Okay, I'm going to put the lilies and carnations into one column so it's easier. I have more space basically, right? And then carnations is below. Okay. All right, so that means with this, okay, lilies will then become 16 units. And then carnations will then become 5 units. So I'm just going to put here, carnations will then become 5 units. Okay, and then we can solve it. Okay, so for that, the ratio. So ratio to lilies to the number of carnations. So lilies to carnations is equal to 16 over 5. 16 is to 5. Okay, there you go. That's the answer. 16 is to 5. Okay, let's move to the next question. Part B. So the number of lilies Megan had at first was more than 90. What was the smallest possible number of flowers bigger head at first. So number of lilies head at first is more than 90. Number of lilies at first was more than 90. So lilies is more than 90, right? So 16 units. If only it's 90, then it's okay, maybe. But yeah, 16 units. So we can just list down multiples of 16. Okay, so we have 16, 32, right? And then 48, then 64. Yep. And then we have 80, and then we have 96. Right. So for this was more than 90. So 16 is lilies, right? So 96. Flowers, number of flowers. So number of flowers, so 96. So that means 16 units is equal to 96. Okay. Then 1 unit is equal to 96 divided by 6. It should be 16. Sorry, 16. Sorry, divided by 16 should be 6, right? To double confirm, 16. Yeah, 6. Yeah, correct. So total units is 21, right? So total is equal to 16 plus 5, which is equal to 21 units. So 21 units is equal to 6 times 21, and this is equal to, so 6 times 21, this will give us 126. Okay, there you go. So that's the answer, 126. Okay. All right, let's move to the next question. All right, question 16. Figure 1 shows the amount of water in regular tank P at first. Okay, so Raj poured 1/3 of water from tank P into tank Q. Figure 2 shows the amount of water in tank Q in the end. What was the height of water level in tank Q at first? So we want to get the number, the water in tank P at first, right? So in this case, let me just write down here. So water at tank P at first, okay, is equal to, right, length times breadth times height. Okay, so in this case over here, what's the length, right? So the length is equal to 20, breadth is equal to 18, and then the height is 24, right? So let's do the equation. So let's use our calculator. 20 times 18 times 24. Okay, this will give us 8,643. Okay. All right, centimeter cube. Right. Oops. Shift tab. Cube. So Raj poured 1/3 of water from tank P into tank Q. So water poured is equal to 8640, okay, times 1/3. Okay, let's see what's the, so we divided by 3, 2880. Okay, 280 centimeter cube. All right. So the water poured is into this tank Q. So let's see what's tank Q at the end. What's the height of water in the level tank Q in the end? So tank Q in the end is equal to, we have this, right, 25 times length times breadth times height. Let me just do that. Okay, which is equal to, length is 25 times 16 times 16.2, which is equal to, so let's say our calculator, 25 times 16 times 16.2, 6,480. So water at tank Q at first is equal to 6,480 minus 2880, which is equal to, so let's go to the calculator, minus 2880, 3,600, 3600. Okay, so last is water tank Q height at first, which is basically base area divided by, volume divided by base area. Volume divided by base area. Okay, so with that, our volume is 3600, 3600, and then we divide it by bracket 25 times 16, which is our base area. Okay, and then this will give us, so let's use our calculator. 3600, essentially we can just do this as well, 16. All right, so okay, maybe not. The 3600, and then we divide it by brackets 25 times 16 bracket. Okay, 9. So 9 centimeters. There you go. So the answer is 9 centimeters for the first question. All right, let's move on to part B. Okay, so part B says, what was the percentage increase in the volume of water in tank A? Tank Q. So inside tank Q over here, percentage increase. You can get the volume water, right, of this. So 2880, okay, and then divided by 3600. Okay, so percentage increase is water tank Q at first, water pot. So water pot is the one, right? Oh, okay. So percentage increase is equal to the water pot 80, okay, and then we divided by the at first 3600, okay, and then times 100%. Okay, and that will give us where is it? Where's my calculator? 2880 divided by 3600 times 100. Okay, 80%. So the answer is 80%. Okay, that's it. All right, let's move on to the next part. All right, so last question. The diagram shows two identical semicircles, one over here and the other one over here, and a quarter circle, this and this. All right, find the area of the shaded figure. That's what I see over here. So technically, hear me out. If you want to get the area of the shaded circle, right? So what you can do is you can technically just get this, right, area over here, and then you can just move it down here, and then it will just be one quarter circle lah. Right? So I think it's 1 mark. It's pretty obvious. So it's just uh shaded figure is equal to semi circle plus quarter circle, and then minus semi circle, which is also the same as in this case is the same as a quarter circle. Okay, and that's it lah, right? Okay, so then so quarter circle area is equal to 1 quarter times pi times radius times radius. So this would then become right, 1 quarter times pi, which is 22 out of 7, 22 out of 7, and then times radius, which is 28, and the radius is 28. Okay, and this will become, so let's use the calculator, 1 quarter times 22 out of 7 times 28 times 28. Okay, and this will give us 616 centimeter square. There you go. So the answer is 616 centimeters square. All right, that's it. Let's move to the next question, part B. All right, find the parameter of the shaded figure. Okay, so shaded figure over here is just, in this case, let me just read again. So this will just be normal. Okay, so this is 1. Okay, be red. And then should be the other one. Draw another arrow. And then another one here as well. Okay. Right. So basically it's just two semicircles plus one quarter circle. So parameter is equal to 2 times semicircle plus 1 quarter circle, which is also equal to two semicircle is just one full circle plus 1 quarter circle. All right, so now with that, we can just do this, right? So one full circle, parameter in this case is equal to 2 times uh, pi times radius, or equal to pi times diameter, which is equal to 22 out of 7 times 28. Okay, because the diameter is 28. Okay, so let's use the calculator. 22 out of 7 times 28 is equal to 88. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Right, it's equal to 88. Right, so now the next thing is we will have one quarter circle. So one quarter circle, let me just write here. One quarter circle is basically 1 quarter times 2 pi times radius. Okay, and then we will just do accordingly as well, which is 1 quarter times 2 times radius. So the radius is 28 and pi is 22 out of 7. Okay, so then let's calculate. So take the 4 divided by 4 times 2 times 22 out of 7 times 28 is equal to 44. Right, so right, total will become 88 plus 44, which is equal to 132. Okay, double check. Plus 88 132 centimeter. Okay, there you go. So that's part B. All right, let's move on to the last part C. Okay, so part C, it says here 19 of such shaded figures were used to form a repeated pattern and printed at the bottom of a piece of cloth. The arrangement of the first 8 and the last 3 shaded on the figures on the cloth are shown in figure 2. Find the length of the piece of cloth. Okay, so this is the first half of the pattern. So we know that the diameter of the semicircle is 28 centimeters. So how do we then get this remaining thing over here, right? So this, if you were to be in a circle, is actually just a radius, right? So if I were to just do this, it's just half of a radius over here. Okay, so in this case, one of this is 28, and then the other one is 14, right? 20 divided by 4, you have 14 centimeters for this. Okay, so one pattern is this, and then if I were to just put this down, okay, so that means we complete the, what do you call this, the pattern, right? Like this over here, something like this. And then that means this is also 14 centimeters. That's what you see over here, right? So this whole thing over here is a total of, let me just put here, right? So we will get this total first, right? We'll calculate it later. But for now, at least we know what's the length of one of this. Okay, so she says here 19 of such shaded figures were used to form a repeated pattern. Okay, the arrangement of the first 8 and the last 3 is at this one. Find the length of the piece of cloth. Okay, so we need to know the number of this thing over here. So 19, right? Okay, so we have 1 and 2, and we have 3 at the end. Okay, so let's have, we know 3 at the end. So let's have 9. So one such pattern is this 2, right? So 19 Okay, so one pattern, one. Do I call this pattern? So 9 such is the repeated pattern. Okay, yeah. So one repeated pattern. So I'm just gonna do here and call it repeated pattern. So one repeated. So 4 shaded figure is equal to one repeated pattern. So then 19 shaded figure is equal to how many repeated pattern? Which is 19 divided by 4. And this will give us roughly around, I don't know, let's use the calculator. Right, 19 divided by 4 is 4.75. But we want to round it up to 5. Okay, so we have 5 repeated patterns. Okay, and one repeated pattern, let me just put here. So one repeated pattern length is equal to, in this case, 14 plus 28 plus 14, and this will give us 56. So let's double confirm. 14 plus 28 plus 14, this is 56. So that means 5 repeated patterns length, or the length of the cloth. Let me just put this here, is equal to 56 times 5. Okay, so sorry, one repeated pattern is 4 shaded figures. Sorry, this is not 4 shaded pattern length. Okay, so 4 shaded figure. Sorry, one repeated pattern length is 56. So this whole thing, 4 shaded figure is one repeated, so times 2. Sorry, this one should be times 2 instead. 2 times of this, right? 1 and 2. Okay, so yeah, so then this should be 2 times 56. Okay, so the repeated pattern, so this is half a repeated pattern. Okay, then one repeated pattern is this. Okay, 2 times 56, which is equal to, so let me use my calculator, times 2, 112. Okay, so now 5 repeated patterns, 112 times 5, which is equal to, so let's use calculator, times 5, go to 560. Okay, but we don't end there. So you see that this is not a repeated pattern, right? This one over here, if you were to look closely, right, we don't have this part. So we have this length, right? Okay, then this is 24, this is 14, right? So then we don't have the other 14. So this is missing. So let me write down. So this is 14. We know this is 14, right? Oops. 1, 4. Let me make it very, very small. So we know this is 14, this is 14, this is 28. But we don't have the other 14 because it ends there, right? So then we just minus. So the length of cloth is not this. So the length of cloth is equal to 560 minus 14, which is equal to, so 560 minus 14, okay, is 546. Okay, so if you look at the last part, we end with just half, which means we need to minus 14. Okay, in this case over here, let me just make this a little bit so smaller, like this, right? So the last part, if I want to make this, okay, over here, right? So we don't have it like this. Oops. Oh, it is like that. Okay, so yeah, so that is roughly about it. Okay, so the answer for the length of cloth is 546. There you go. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want more of this kind of video, subscribe down below and comment down what other things you want me to show you next. See you in the next one. Bye bye.